Hello everyone and welcome to another webinar from the Atom team. Today we are excited to have a guest speaker, Chris Lusk, who is leading the Atom implementation at the Arkansas Department of Transportation, otherwise known as RDOT, specifically in regards to the fleet management system. Chris will be taking us through the details of how Atom has been deployed at RDOT. Chris, floor is all yours.
So this is our demo of our Atom program that we are currently still integrating and setting up with our other systems here at RDOT. This quick first little PowerPoint here is just to kind of give an overview of where we're at with everything. This is what we envision the system to do for us. It's what we're calling a cradle to grave type system, where we would start with our wish list, where we distribute our annual budget across our 10 different districts and multiple divisions so that they can request their equipment for the fiscal year. And from there, we would use those analytics to help make our register here, which is basically our tracking of our ordering of this equipment. Once it goes through our entire purchasing, it would eventually get received, be brought into the system with our equipment files. And then from here, what would be brand new to RDOT is a true work order system and PM system. Right now, all of this is just being maintained on paper. There's no real historical documentation other than a filing cabinet. From there, the Atom program would integrate with our financial program, Oracle, where we will pull all of our expenses, such as parts and labor, that's been charged to that vehicle. Now, the labor will come from our work orders through our HR timekeeping system, UKG. We will push our work orders to UKG. UKG will push it into Oracle, where the financials will be calculated, and then we'll pull it back out, so it's a full circle of data. After we have all the expenses, we can then see how much we're spending on vehicles and make decisions on which vehicles should be disposed of based off those analytics and also the year and mileage of those vehicles or pieces of equipment. This is a very quick overview of our life cycle and how we envision Atom will touch each one of these sections that you see here. Just real quick, this is kind of the milestones that we've been working on with Atom. As you can see, we kicked off the project in November of 2023. We worked through all of 2024, and currently we are in the data setup and integration side of things. We're actually closer to the integrations and data transfer side of things at this time. We have not started the data transfers, but we are very close to this portion, which we would then go into our super users testing and eventually end users and go live. We plan on going live spring of this year. We're looking at maybe May, June for that go live date. That's just a quick overview for like our little PowerPoint, but inside the system here, you can see that we have a dashboard where you can see the work currently assigned to you. You can see any past due work that is out there as a supervisor. You can see the recently updated, and then as a system user, I could see if I had any pending users that needed to be onboarded or change permissions and roles. This dashboard's been really great for us. It's really customizable. You can turn off any of these features that you want, such as this inventory count by numbers that we had added in. This could be a report that is always on your dashboard, and you can add that report yourself anytime you want without it affecting other users. So if it's a very unique report for you, it's great. It saves you clicks from having to go through analytics, and you can just look at it every time you log in. If it's a report you don't want, you can easily just come up here, take it out, and you're good to go. This can also be used with the analytics tab so that you can go pick your customized report, and I'll show that here in a little bit. I like to start with the portals. Obviously, the main portals are going to be your inventory, work, and analytics. I like to start with inventory here just so you can kind of see our folder structure that we've created. And this is the exact same folder structure that we have in all of our other systems. Atom's been very easy to customize the way we want, so we weren't forced into a certain structure that didn't fit our needs. So you can see within here, we have my overall budget, and these would be the 5 different sections that I'm over. But we can also see in our district, District 9, here's all of their crews that they would be responsible for. And through the Teams portal, we could give them access so they only see their folder. We can even get it all the way down to Baxter County here, could only see Baxter County vehicles, which is something that we really kind of take pride of in Arkansas. It's something that we do. We try to limit views so it keeps people out of other people's business. And the team building portal has been really great for that part of this. Also, talking about the customizing of everything. So here is my vehicle that I drive every day, 5912. Here you can find your information that you would want. Atom is customizing some of these headers for us so that we are getting the most useful information on this screen, such as PO number, which is really big for our tracking, so that before the vehicle gets here, we have a PO number assigned and a tag number assigned. So we know what that tag number is going to be before it ever makes it to our lot. And then we customized and made each one of these attribute sections ourselves. As you can see, we just have general information where we'll have our tag number, year, make, model, descriptions, VIN numbers. We have a fuel section where we type in if it was flex fuel capable. Here in Arkansas, we have a fuel master system for our gas pumps. This interface would tell us if it was using an Ames or ProKey interface. We could also track the serial numbers from that Ames unit and our GPS serial numbers. Those are going to be really handy because right now those are just on Excel sheets for us here at the department. Obviously, you can customize this however you want it. It's very simple. We have status monitoring, so we could have our financial status, whether it's active or salvage in our financial program. We'd have our own monitored status where we could have if it was on order, delivered in use, if it was broke down or in our auction, or if it was sold at auction, so that we could run reports based on these statuses. That's going to be very useful for us because right now we just track everything in Access databases. And a lot of times information in Access databases can accidentally get deleted or edited without the user realizing that they've done it. These are going to be fantastic for us. We created part sections so that our stock rooms would be able to come in and reference part numbers. And then they would also have the ability to edit these part numbers if they needed to. Let me go ahead and save this. So in the part sections here, let's say when we check a vehicle in, we do have the air filter number. So our equipment supervisor would fill that out. And then the stockroom itself would be able to come in and see this. If this number changed or they were buying a different model of filter, the stockroom would be able to come in and also make edits. And as you'll see here, when you make edits on anything in this system, it throws it into a pending status. So even though the stockroom made this change to AP123, the system admin still has to come in and approve these changes. That's really nice for us that we can allow the end users to make changes that mean something to them, but they can't override anything we don't want them to override. And you can see here that I will approve this, and now it's in black. If someone were to come in and make this an edit again, you can see what it was previously and what it is now, and then I could reject that change if I wanted to. This is going to be a great feature so that we can actually let end users be a part of it and not have everything rely on the system admin themselves. Also within here, we'll have our PM standards of how often oil should be changed. That is going to help us create automations. So right now we're going to set it up that within 300 miles of your next oil change, there will be a work order automatically created and sent to the supervisors of that piece of equipment so that they can go ahead and schedule an oil change and make sure that these are getting done in a timely manner. This obviously helps your fleet. The more maintained you keep it, the less cost you're going to be putting into it through the life of it, and the more that we'll get for it in our auction. Auction really is important to us because it supplements our budget for new equipment every year. So if we start losing money because we're not taking care of equipment, it becomes a big deal. We lose money not only dumping more money into a vehicle, but we lose money selling that vehicle. Here's where you'll find we created a purchasing section. So as we're buying this piece of equipment, we can track the spec number, our requisition number, our PO number. This is going to be very useful, not just for tracking the purchase itself, but it's also going to be very useful with the specification number. So when we buy a half-ton truck each year, it gets a unique identification number that ties all of those vehicles together. So if we started noticing on work orders that this specification number keeps popping up on a transmission issue, we could run a report and find all of the sister vehicles that were bought under this same spec, and we could then go ahead and start notifying districts that they may potentially be running into transmission trouble. This could save our districts money and time of diagnostics because someone else has already figured out the problem. This is very useful because right now it's just word of mouth. We've had situations where a district has spent months and thousands of dollars on an issue that wound up being every time they washed the vehicle, they were shorting out a wire where water was dripping in. We had another district that was having the same issue, and it just so happened they made a phone call and were talking about it and saved themselves money, whereas now we could run reports on these spec numbers. So that's very useful. And then the very last section here is just our disposal. This will just tell us how we got rid of a vehicle, whether it be through our auction or whether it be through like an insurance salvage. We can track how much we made on it. We can also track the depreciation value and the current salvage value for any insurance claims that come through. So this is how we set it up. And like I said, this whole section that you're seeing here was completely customized by RDOT. We can go in and add fields anytime we want as the system admin. If we decided that we also needed another date down here, I could add that to the schema and it wouldn't cause any problems. It's very easy, very customizable. So right now, like I said, we're looking at my vehicle. This is my vehicle's data. Within here, you can see any work that's been done to this vehicle. So you can see here, there was some preventative maintenance, and then there was wear and tear. There was a wear and tear work order. If we wanted to go to the preventative maintenance, I can click right here and see the historical data that was in there. So I can see that it was done in our shop under my project number. This was the meter reading at the time. And for our PM inspections, we have a form that the mechanic could fill out. And with this form, we made it very simple. So it's a single select. The mechanics are going to have tablets so that they can use the touchscreen capabilities, which really helps them because they can hold the tablet in one hand and just touch the screen with the other hand as they're inspecting this vehicle. And then this will be historical record for this vehicle for the rest of its life. Easy to find. It'll always be on the vehicle itself. And then if I want to get back to my vehicle, I can use the search bar at the top to just type in my license plate number, because that's how we do it here in Arkansas, is we just go by this tag number right here. And then I'm right back to where my works were. Also within here, you'll have files so that you can save PDFs. So right here is a PDF of all the documentation we received when we got this vehicle. We do in-house check-in sheets, which we can now get rid of because we can do this live in Atom. We can scan the invoice, the PO it came from, and then the MSOs and odometer readings as we need them, and even the window stickers as you can see here. This is very useful information to refer back to if ever needed. And I love that it's just tied straight to the vehicle now so that we can share it with everyone across the district. Because as right now, they're just PDF files that we save on our own internal server, and not everyone has access to that server. So they can also, if this vehicle was involved in an accident, I created a folder that would show all the documentation related to that accident. So you could see the PDF form of the handwritten accident report, the pictures of damage done to the vehicle, which in this one was very minor. So that's nice that we can document the accidents by themselves. And then you would also have, we are going to require here in Arkansas that photos be taken when a new vehicle is brought into our system from the front driver's side. As you can see here, this is great when we share with auditors. Auditors go around the state to check on these vehicles, and our equipment specialists, sometimes they have a description that isn't a great description of what they're actually looking for. So these pictures tied to it are going to be very beneficial for those people tracking it down, and just so you can see the original state of the vehicle. I even took a picture of the VIN number just so if anything ever comes up with a VIN number, it's right there for reference. We don't have to go walk out to that vehicle and verify numbers, which will be very nice for us. The amount of times we have to walk out and find a VIN number is kind of wild. They all live in these folders here, or you can just see all photos at once. It's really up to you. It's the same photos either way, but that's what we're kind of utilizing the photos section for. This can also be beneficial in the work order section, and I'll show you here in just a second. We'll go back to the dashboard. So from the dashboard, you can either click on the work portal itself to see all work orders in your area. And then there's filtering on the side here. So you can see just what's in progress or anything that's not assigned yet. There's a lot of filtering that you can do here, however you would like. Right now, mine's wide open. That's why you're seeing some of these scripting ones. But from here, you could see the wear and tear. You could see that I've been assigned to this one. SOD has been assigned to this shop overhead work order. But you can always come up to this top section, this top plus, and you'll see create work. Create inventory won't be there for us, for anyone outside of the system admin. The system admin will create all inventory, but anyone in the system will be able to create work on a vehicle. And then within here, we have our function only, which is going to be basically just our overhead. And then what we really have is our mechanic task code. So here in Arkansas, we break down all of our work into 4 alphas. Each alpha representing a different section of the work order. And then you'll be able to see, so here we would select the first letter, which tells you what you're doing, whether it be wear and tear, breakdown, preventative maintenance. If you're doing something related to storm damage, warranty work, it's all here for that. So we'll go into a wear and tear, create a wear and tear work order, and I'm going to add an asset. You can add an asset by drilling all the way through the folders, or probably know the license plate number. You can just type in your tag number. From here, we're going to create it. And now this entire work order is for that vehicle and all of the information up here for it. So this is just an overall work order. From here, you would create what we call task templates, which is going to be those 4 alphas that I was telling you about before. Here at RDOT, our idea is that anyone in the system could be trained to create this APZZ, which is just a troubleshoot non-classified. It basically means they don't know what's wrong with their vehicle. Not everyone that drives a vehicle knows anything about their vehicle, but this would allow them to create their own work order and go ahead and get in line for our shop to be put on their schedule. We do have some required fields on every task template, such as where the work is being done and project numbers, which is just financial tracking numbers that we need for our systems here. Like I said before, this entire work order and task templates were customized by RDOT. So it is very much for us, but you can make it however you need to make it. We also do require odometer readings. From here, our idea is that they would put in a description of something like makes funny noise, and then they could assign a team member to that work order. They could also assign, if they don't know who the supervisor is, they could assign central shop supervisors, and then it would go to the correct group of people. They may know which shop they're taking their vehicle to, but they may not know who the supervisor is at the time, and that's fine. At this point, I would get an email saying that I've been assigned to some work. And then that work would be showing up in my dashboard so that I could go straight to it as the user or as the supervisor. I could see that you've now made one that says making funny noise. From here, I could go and assign another mechanic to this. So now I am the supervisor assigning this to Adam Prince, one of our mechanics. He will now get notification that he's been assigned to something. The idea is that Adam now would come in, he would create a task template where he was going to diagnose what was happening. And he's going to start with, since it was making a funny noise, let's say when they were hitting the brakes, he's going to go ahead and inspect the brakes. And that's all this is an inspection. He'll add himself back to that. He would say that he's doing the work in shop, pick his project number, and then just continue on like normal. And then he would have a notes field down here if he needed to make any kind of notes. Most of the notes are built into our description. We know what he did. From there, he can make his own decision whether he keeps going. He could go ahead and add in that he inspected the rotors, or if he could tell right away that he didn't need to inspect the rotors, they were fine, that the brakes did not get into them, he could go ahead and put in that he has done a replace of the brake shoes. Also inside the system, if you don't know the 4 letters that you're using, you can just type in keywords and then search through here. This is an extensive list, so having the keywords is very valuable. Let's see, if he was going to go ahead and replace these brakes, he would go ahead and select it. He would add himself that he's the one doing the brakes. He didn't assign that to another mechanic, fill in his project number and his meter readings. So from here, he could make notes. Like I said, once again, he could add into the description of what is happening. He could add forms. If we had a form that made sense for this project, such as a pre-trip inspection, he could easily add that form to this template and then fill it out as needed for historical records. After this, though, he would be able to just click on his name, add in his work time, which he doesn't have a template built out, but he would add in his work time here, how many hours it took him to complete the project. So for myself, I would add in my work time. I would pick my group. I would say I spent an hour on it, and then pick my regulatory budget. So from here, you would be able to see that I've now started this. I'm in progress. I'm going to take Adam off of here. and I could complete this task. So as a supervisor, you could sit here and track your mechanics and their progress on a work order straight from your desk. You wouldn't have to go out there in person and try to track them down. It would be very easy to see where you're at. Within the work orders, you still have the capability to add documents, and you have the ability to take photos and add photos that are directly linked to this work order. So right now we're doing an engine replacement. Our mechanic could take pictures as he's dismantling the vehicle so that he would know how to reassemble the vehicle also. You can also add videos if that's what you want to do. It makes it very simple for this entire process. And the nice part is it's always there. So if you do this work order again in the future, you could pull up a like report from before and documentation. Once the mechanic completes his assignment, the supervisors would then come in and change this to a closed work order. And in our system, once the order is closed, it will push all of that information to our timekeeping system so that their time cards are populated with the correct functions of what they did for the day. It's very nice that Adam is able to push that information over for us so that our users are not having to duplicate that information into another program. That would just cause a lot more stress on our mechanics and open us up to validation errors or auditing findings of our system not matching the timekeeping system itself. That's basically our work orders. They are very simple to do. They're very simple to create your own form or task templates. That is obviously going to be something that's locked down to supervisors only. We would not allow mechanics to create their own work templates or their own task templates from scratch. They would just be able to create a task template. From here, everything will funnel through our timekeeping system and through our Oracle reporting system. And at the end of the day, we would then come to our analytics where we can get very customized reports for our fleet. And inside of Adam, you can create these reports. You can get real granular with them, or you can have a higher overview report that has slicers built in, which is going to be really nice so that I'm not having to recreate this report for each budget. I can do just this report and then come in and pick, I only want to see what budget 30 has. I only want to see, let's see, 520 should have pretty good examples. So from here, I can see their total count of vehicles. I can see that 7 of them are in a salvage status within our financial program. You can also have just straight data points here. It's very simple. You can pick your date ranges, your locations. So that saves a lot of time because right now when we do reports, we have to make the same report 36 times for each division. So they only see what they need to see, which obviously creates a lot of work on our IT team to keep and maintain. But from here, this analytics report, I've copied the address at the top, the URL. And what I was mentioning before is you can add custom reports into the dashboard itself. So I would come up here and pick custom embed and paste my URL for equip report. I can make it a large or small. So large would be your items over here and your small ones be on the right side. For this report, we would want it to be on the large side so that we can see everything. And you can see that it's added down here. With the slicers still working, we can still pick which ones we want to see within this field here. If you wanted this at the top, it's as simple as just dragging the report to the top here. So you can very much customize this for yourself. It doesn't change it for anyone else, which is very nice. And like I said, this is still completely functional within inside this window. I believe the only other thing that I really have that I can show you is the team roles itself. So it's not fully fleshed out for us, but we do have what we're going to call like our supervisor roles and our labor roles. This is where we would add each user as they're onboarded or as their job duties change through promotions or other reasons. So we would have our system admin, which would just be myself for the most access, supervisors, and then of course labor. It would go on down inside of how much roles they have and how much they can do in the system. The District 1 labor will also only be able to see District 1 items. That way they can't get into District 2 where they don't belong and run the possibility of ruining their work in the Adam system. This is very easy. You can have groups like this so that you can just drop people in. Even with a person inside this District 6 labor, if I had a person that needed just a little bit more access but not supervisor access, you can still customize that per person if need be. Obviously, we would want to keep most of it as a high overall group, but having the flexibility to change one person to give them one little bit of extra roles is very nice to have because there's always going to be some people that don't fit into each folder. They need to kind of be a hybrid of both folders. With that, that's a very high level of everything that we have built out in the system so far and how hopefully you can see that this system is going to really help us track our fleet from the time that we order it until the time that we dispose of it at our auctions or through insurance. That's it on my end. Like I said, it's a very simple system. The customizing is obviously one of the biggest features that have been the best for us.
Okay, Chris, we have a couple of questions from the audience. The first one is, what would you say to an organization that has different types of assets they need to maintain and manage? Say a water treatment facility or an electrical utility.
Sure. And I've answered this question before when it comes to people talking about, well, we don't do vehicles. We're looking at parts and things like that. And the one thing I always tell them is an asset is an asset. Inventory is inventory. It's the same idea that you create a schema, collects the data points that you want to collect it, and then you have an overall folder structure that works for your system. Tracking an asset is just tracking an asset. It doesn't really matter what it is.
The second question is this. When you're doing oil changes or when you repair an engine, is the consumption of the parts and materials involved integrated back into your inventory management and purchasing systems so those parts and materials can be replenished in a streamlined manner?
So right now the inventory lives in our financial program, Oracle. That's where it has to live, which was also a very big key factor for other fleet programs that we looked at. Other fleet programs said that they basically had to have our inventory to operate, and we can't separate that from our Oracle system. So the way Atom has really been able to help us is that we're going to push each one of these work orders with this customized work order ID. That ID will go into each of those systems, our HR system and our financial system, as a tracking item. And then the parts themselves would also get charged not only to the tag number itself, but to this work order, so that when Atom brings that information back in, Atom can tie it all together. So Atom will have the work order and what was actually done. They will pull the money financials out of Oracle for us and merge those two together like they were always together. Now, that's not a limitation of Atom. That's a limitation of RDOT's systems and our current environment, because we don't have a true enterprise system. So we very much have different systems talking to each other. Inside of Atom, I know y'all have the capability to do those financials for us. And like I kind of said about our labor earlier, we would very much be on board to build that out and see those financials. We just don't have the need for it, and we don't want to have two systems. First of all, we can't have two systems of record. You can't have that anyways. So all we would be doing is open ourselves up to scrutiny of why one system shows something and another system shows another value, because our financial Oracle may calculate a little bit differently than how we set it up.
Chris, is your Oracle system reordering your parts and materials and redistributing them to the holding facilities or warehouses throughout the state?
Yes, each of our districts actually order their own inventory and maintain their own inventory for use. Now, we do have inside of the work orders, we added, you'll notice we probably did add, let me get it back open here. We did add in inventory number and inventory quantity. This doesn't tie into our financial system at all, but what we did is we actually added in so the mechanic could put in his inventory number, how many he needed, and the description of what he was ordering from our stockroom. And this was an idea so that the mechanic could place an order to his stockroom without actually having to walk up to the stockroom itself. We would eventually like to get to a point where we can train our mechanics to fill that out. They would assign the stockroom personnel to the work order itself so that they get notification a part is needed. They could go ahead and pull that part and deliver it to the mechanic without him ever having to leave his bay. And that has two motivations behind it, so that the mechanic can keep working. He doesn't have to slow down what he's doing. And it also keeps the mechanic from hanging out in the stockroom for longer than he needs to be. We can tell them that they have to stay in their bays once we start using this inventory number and quantity on work orders.
Well, that's a wrap on this webinar. The Atom team wants to express our sincere gratitude to Chris Lusk, who is running the Atom implementation at the Arkansas Department of Transportation. Chris, we greatly appreciate the time and dedication you have put into the entire project and this presentation as well. It was truly fantastic. Thank you.